Welcome to Titan 7.5 preview, a day in the life of the newest version of Titan CMS, kind of showing off the features, the content library, block duplication, some new paging options. We've been actually putting a lot of work in this based on user feedback from you all. That's what you like and don't like about Titan, well, how we can improve stuff. So we're always welcome to receive your input. Even today, probably you will be thinking of some things along the way that we could make even better. And we'd love to hear it either during the meeting if you think it's immediately pertinent. Otherwise, to send us an email, message us, show up at office hours. We have office hours once a month where we also take input and feedback and show off incremental improvements, answer questions. So if you have questions of something that you'd like us to cover, we'd be happy to do that during our regular office hours. But today's a little bit an extended kind of an office hours offering where we're going to go through and show you what we've added new inside of Titan. So let's kick it off here, John. I have on here a page that has nothing on it in our demo site. And so we're going to show you the new content library, content manager. So starting out with this blank page on our public site team, we're going to go and add a block. And so I'm going to go through it. First, they're going to do two things. I'm going to go through and just kind of go through a day in the life. I'm going to add in a page. I want to actually build a team page. So I'm going to go through the exercise of what we do to do that, kind of straight through. And then I'm going to come back. We'll do it again, and I'll slow down and show you everything that's new over here. So I'm just going to talk out loud as I'm going in here. So I don't see any bookmarks. Nothing's bookmarked. I don't see anything over here that says team on it. And these are the old system blocks that we used to be actually on this part of the screen, and now they're over on the right. And I'm clicking on here. I don't see anything. Nothing's been bookmarked. So I'm going to open up the content library. And oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm noticing it says all over here. So I'm assuming these are all the blocks, which is actually correct. I'm clicking under bookmarks. I don't see anything there. And I don't think it says you have not created libraries yet. So I'm going to look inside of here for a team building thing. First, I'm scanning it visually. Well, there's a lot of stuff in here. So I'm going to go up and search inside the library. I'm going to type in the word team and see if I come up with anything. And a lot of these blocks that are showing up now have either probably the word team somewhere in their copy. Is that right, John?
Yep.
Yeah.
Either that or one of there's a description field. Maybe there's a reference to a team or something along that. Yep. But typically it would come out of content.
All right, so I don't see anything in here that looks for what I'm looking for, but I do remember that a long time ago that Northwoods had created a kind of a generic team page. There it is, team listing. I really like this one with the circles, etc. So I'm going to go take that page, insert it onto my site, and voila, we're done. I can hit publish, and let's go on over here to the team page, and let's see what we got. There it is. Our team page has been published. I pulled a block out of the library and it worked first time. And I'm assuming I can go in there now and do all the regular content management of editing the pictures and changing the descriptions, etc., for whatever I want. So we're not going to talk about that. We're just talking about putting stuff in the library. But actually, let's talk about it. Let's take our Northwoods team, and I'm going to change a couple things in there. I'll leave the Greek text alone for the moment. And I'm going to say, let's assume that I'm making a bunch of changes inside of here, and I built out a team page, and I want to use this on 3 or 4 different places on the website. All right, let's just kind of take a quick peek. What do we have over here? I can collapse all the blocks. I can see, we've got, this page was blank, so now I've added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different blocks inside of here. I'm going to copy all of those blocks, select them all, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, share these selected blocks to the content library. So I'm going to actually build a new entry in the content library because it wasn't there before. I had to grab it from the online library. So it wasn't in my local one that belonged to this instance. So I'm going to call it the team page. And I'm going to put a boring description here called team page. And it's created by Patrick. And I want to make this available to everybody. So the owner of this will just not be me, so I'm the only one who sees this entry in the content library, but anybody that comes into the content library, any of the content managers that work for us would be able to see it. And as a matter of fact, it does work with the Reflex theme, so I'm going to change that. John, would more themes show up underneath here if we had additional themes available?
Yeah, that's right. So depending on how many sites are in a given client instance, they might all use the same theme. Maybe one that was written and for all the different sites. So there might still be just the one, but it might not even be reflex in quotes. It might be whatever the theme named what was named for that client, right? Or
Yeah.
you could have multiple different sites that all have different designs, right? And so each different design is a different theme. You might see 4 or 5 or 10 different checkboxes in that list.
Yeah. So that some of our clients had lots and lots of entries in their content library. In fact, we did a little survey out there, and there were several clients that had hundreds of entries into the content library, clearly being used a lot. And some of those clients had, like you said, multiple designs. So they had multiple themes. They were using an intranet, had a different theme than a couple different public websites. And so it was true that sometimes a block might use styles or CSS classes that were not available in a different theme. And so if you dropped it on that page, it didn't work, or it half worked, it looked broken. And that's because the CSS or the JavaScript wasn't there to support it. So we are now enabling with an entry in the content library to check which themes it belongs to. If you only have a few, then you don't need to check this. But if you want to sort it all out, this is another way to differentiate and make sure that that's nice and clean. All right, I'm going to click done. We're going to leave this without a preview for the moment. And so now if I come back into the content library and I open the content library, you should see that there's a thing called team page. And it does not have a preview. So let's add a preview to that. And it just so happens by coincidence that I did create a block copy preview previously. And I'm going to upload that. In a second, you can't see my screen at the moment, but I have popped open my local C drive, and now it's going to pull a file off of there. 3, 2, 1. I feel like in that Iron Man movie. And so upload, and now I have a team preview and an old one right there, same thing. So I'm going to hit done right now. And actually, does it matter which size I pick in the preview over here?
Yes and no. The size directly connects to the physical size of the image asset. You probably don't need the huge one because it's only ever showing in the context of this little dialogue. So
Yeah.
a smaller works just fine. It'll load nice and quick. If you choose a big one, it's going to get shrunk down. Might take a little longer to load the screen. So choosing a smaller one's probably better.
So I've got a page over here. There's now a preview on it. And so I could insert that again. And actually, because it doesn't have the word Northwoods in there, because I created this previously, it's not the correct one. But I'm going to hit cancel over here, and I'm going to select all these blocks again. I'm going to delete all these blocks from the screen, publish. And so now it's a blank page once again. I'm going back into team, add a block, open the content library, search for the word team. Now there it is, the team page. I click insert, and what it is, the preview doesn't reflect this, but the Our Northwoods team is now there. And so I've now made this local. So now there's a local copy stored. I don't have to go to the online library anymore. Well, let's go better. That's one of my favorite blocks. I love this block so much. And I'd like it to show up in its bookmarks over here. So I'm going to go into the content library. I'm going to search for it again, team. And when I come up, I'm going to select it. And this little thing over here, add a bookmark, boom, it's done. And now under my bookmarks, you'll see that the team page has been added into my bookmarks. I'm going to just cancel out of here. And if I go to, I'm going to just clean this off again. We're going to take it in and book it out, clean it, publish it. So it's all cleaned out again. Team page, add a block. There it is. My team page is now showing a bookmark. No, so John, this is just showing a square version of it. That other one in the library was longer. If I go over here into the content library, this is a long one. Why are we showing a square one in this initial view?
Just to make this view more uniform. You're going to end up with, over time, more than just one bookmark. You might be going from page to page on a daily task where you needed to inject, some special call to action content that you created, and you want to drop it in a lot of different pages. You'll have other things showing here, and it just gives a nice uniform presentation. But you'll always be able to get to that full length preview in the content library.
So I go over here, I can still scroll down and find that. So yeah, and I can search now. We couldn't do that before. So I can search for the word team, and that'll find it if it's in the header, the description, or frankly in the content. But even better yet, I could do something else, which is creating a content library. So I go over here to the library, and I can say this is a Pat's blocks. And I'm just going to do that. And this is personal for me. And now I've made a new entry called Pat's blocks. And I can go up here to the block library and say the ones that I work with all of the time, I use this on every page. And so I can say seeing double, I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag it over here to Pat's blocks. I'm also going to, what's another one? Test. It's got my name in it, so I like that one. And I'm going to drag that over here to Pat's blocks. Notice I'm staying right where we are. This was a long, long discussion we had back and forth and back and forth. So as I'm dragging stuff in there, they're not being removed from all blocks, because all blocks will always show all blocks. That's why we called it all. But if I come over here to Pat's blocks, you're going to see there's two things in there. And so they're not in two places. All blocks always shows all the blocks. Bookmarks shows the bookmarks. Pat's blocks shows the ones that I want to just keep my collection kind of separate from everybody else. So one of the requests we had was our library is too big. We've got too much stuff in here. It's hard to find. I didn't build previews for everything. Shame on me. I didn't take the time to build a preview for any of these. And so, in fact, but I do like all of these. Is there some way to organize it? And the answer is yes. And so we expect, and you can actually tell us in a couple months after you start, if you have the upgrade to the 7.5.2, where this is released, if you start using this, we would love some feedback from you as to whether you have reorganized your blocks and whether you're primarily using now the libraries. Because I can make a library called John's blocks.
Right.
And now those are by name. But actually, that's kind of dumb. Why don't I just call these, really want list blocks.
Yep.
And photo blocks. So let's, in fact, as
Or
we're discussing
full page templates, or
oh yeah, templates, big templates. And we say full page. And we're actually say templates, full page, done, and or templates, small templates, sections.
Yep.
Yeah. So name it whatever you want. In fact, we had a long debate and everybody came up with a way that we were going to come up with a tagging structure for how to organize the block library. And what we decided was that there were so many different opinions, it just seemed apparent that we should just let people do whatever they want. And so now I can take the library over here and I can go into the library and say, digital services block. Yeah, that's a sectional block. The services intro, that's a sectional block. Pat 5 test. Well, I actually put that in Pat's blocks before, but I'm going to move it now into templates full page. So in fact, you'll see now that block, if you remember back just 3 minutes ago, that was in Pat's blocks. And I just dragged it over into the template section over here. So, or where did I put it? I put it right there. So it can only currently exist in one spot. Debate we had internally, and we elected that option. If you think people should be able to put it in more than one block, more than one place, the same block in multiple spots, let us know. And that's something we could consider. Right, John?
We sure could consider it. But in the process, we might try to convince you to come up with some different folder structures that just better describe and organize the content for everybody in your office. There's lots of ways. It's the whole, we should name our network drive this and make these the 5 folders that all files live in. And it's like, okay,
there's going to be a million opinions. It's like
Yep.
economists, you're going to get 100 economists, you get 100 opinions about where things are going. So, but the good news is, if you didn't like list blocks, you can edit that and change it to list blocks. You can change the name, or you can take list blocks and you can delete it. And we also pop this up too, as you're going through and deleting things like this, we're going to let you know that this only affects the folders and any descendant folders that you might have built, because you can nest these. We didn't show you that yet, but I can, under list blocks, I can go sub list blocks, done. And so now you can build nested folders like this. But if I go back and I delete that folder, all descendant folders will be deleted, but the block copies that are in there, they just go back into the all. They always were in all. They're going to, and they'll just revert back to all. They'll be untagged from this folder structure. And this will occur immediately, and you can't undo it. And so if I say, yep, I get it, we go, yes. So we added that little extra piece in there. So you can rename these folders, reorganize these folders, If I wanted the templates folder to be under John's blocks, I can do that. Look at that. That is so cool, John. We have this new drag and drop stuff. If I want Pat's test to be under Pat's blocks, I can put it over there. In this case, it disappeared and it showed up over here under Pat's test. So you can take and reorganize these things real quickly and add, delete, edit, etc. And it's all non-destructive reasonably because they're always all going to live under all. That's a lot of alls in one sentence. And so next thing, I can go on how to apply an Internet Titan hero image and a blog sign up. I'm tagging these, I'm holding down the control key. And as I'm doing that, I'm clicking on each one of these best places to work. And then I can come up over here and I can say delete. And I understand these are gone. And I'm just cleaning up some riffraff that was left around in this thing. So you can clean up block copies. You get a warning, but that's as far as we go.
Yeah, that warning, as just an aside, most all delete operations are now going to include that double acknowledgement. It's like, yep, I just want to make sure you really read that message that we crafted, especially so oh yeah, I read it. Oh, call Northwoods because we deleted something wrong. So we want to just give that extra hiccup, that speed bump on delete operations. You'll see it more in Titan admin. I think a lot of the stuff in the content side, like deleting a page, well, you're not actually deleting it until it's moving into the recycle bin. So you'll see that from time to time on some of the more destructive type of operations.
Yep. All right. So we've shown you this. Another thing that we have added is the ability now you can, as you come in to edit any one of these blocks, I double clicked on this very first one over here. Digital services block. Tells me who was created. You can change that name if you want to make it simpler. You can make this a personal block so only Sydney could see it. So whoever it's created by, oh, actually, no, that's not true. If I change it to personal, it's going to go to Patrick. Even though it was created by Sydney, I am currently the editor right now. So if I make this personal, that's going to be a Patrick block. And I can also say this one does work with Reflex, and then we're all done. But even further, I can go down here and I can actually edit the content of this block. So inside of the block library, you couldn't do this before. I can double click on this and go in here and make edits, make changes so that the entry that is in the library can get fixed. If you have typos in there, you want to change an image out for everybody and make it the new library entry can be edited right here. So if I wanted a period in front of each one of these, I could do that, hit done. And
as Pat's saying, it's going to change the copied, content. It's so that when somebody inserts it in the future, it'll get those changes. It won't go back and update ones that came from the library that were created in the past prior to that change. But the other aspect that you couldn't do before is add new blocks to that copy. So down below, maybe it's just one freeform now, but you want to inject a new freeform or some other, table of contents or something else, you can now add more blocks to the block copy, and then you have more control over what that template includes and all that stuff.
We just added a little image on the bottom, and I can do the normal things like dragging and dropping this stuff around. It's a little harder when there's more than one, but there we go. I dragged it up to the top. Done. And now this is not going to update the preview,
right?
Unless you have to do that manually. We are working on a future enhancement where that preview will perhaps, as far as we can get automatic, to be able to generate a preview and be able to make that much faster and easier. So there's a lot of challenges because the content is coming up in the context of a navigation, a header and a footer, and however that's arranged. So when we do a preview right now, opening the preview page, everybody should be able to see this. Oh, let's not show that page. Normally that works. So I'm not sure why that didn't pop up, but normally this preview would come up and you would see the block preview. That is something that we're trying to make it so it's easier so that you'd be able to capture it. All right. So we have done here. Actually, let me just clean this up. Let me take this out of there and we'll hit done. There you go. Here's our block services. So I'm going to bookmark that one because I like it. I'm going to hit plus. That's now in my bookmarks. So we're going to come back out of here, cancel, adding a block. Now I have two things in my bookmarks. I want to show ones that work with reflex. Both of them work with reflex. Actually, let's take one and pretend that it doesn't work with reflex. So I'm going to go back into the content library. I'm going to edit this one, and I'm going to turn off that it works with reflex. So now when I click add content, this is showing me the ones that work with reflex. This one shows me all bookmarks. So it's a toggle. So reflex only, click this thing to show all bookmarks, click there, show only the ones that work with the theme, click there. So it just toggles it on and off. So now you have the ability to filter that. And as always, we have all the old blocks. Again, this was the only view you had for a long time, and that was the primary view, was the adding a blank block. And we've given primary access now, primary emphasis on the content library being hopefully the first thing that you work with. And if you build up your bookmarks, let's add a couple more bookmarks in here. So around the campfire, let's bookmark that. I like this hover zoom. That's a beautiful one. Pat test is always my fave. So these are the ones I'm working with all of the time. SEO, a photo, 30% photo, float, that sounds good. And so I've clicked all of those, and I can actually check what my bookmarks are. There they are. If I change my mind in any one of them around the campfire, I just click over here and then unbookmark it. You can also, from the main add content library, if I show all bookmarks, there they all are. And you can see now, here's the square version. So we decided not to make the long versions available over here for this exact reason, so that you'd be able to scroll kind of easily down and have kind of unified view of these things. And then this is up to you to place this yourself, but you can also remove a bookmark if you don't want this photo one in here. You can just click there and that'll take it out of the bookmarks also. So lots of different ways to get the stuff done. We should pause, catch our breath for a second and see if there's any questions of all the stuff we've shown so far. Everybody I'll talk real slow for a second while you think of your question and find your unmute button on your keyboard. And we should get a little dun, 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 dun. Do that. All right. Feel free to interrupt us, or I think can you raise your hand in Zoom? I think you can. If anybody has anything would like to get some clarifications on your question and come together. All right. So the next cool thing, let's see. We showed how to open a content library. We've shown how to build libraries, build a folder structure over here, how to drag items in and out of the folders. We can see how these are organized. We have the all view. We've looked at the search. We also have an advanced search over here. So this allows you to show things, show only the ones that work with reflex. So that theme filter. And here, that big long list now got filtered down to the ones that work with reflex. Showed you how to delete items. If you don't want this in the library anymore, just click on the delete. You're going to get a little warning. And so as we change that filter to all reflex, it shows up in the main bar over here. You can click on that and it turns off that filter. And now we're back to the full big list. On any one of these, we've showed that you have descriptive information over here on the right-hand side, along with a preview, when it was created, who created it, where the preview image is, the ability to change those previews. What else have we not shown in the library?
I mean, for the items that are in a folder, as far as their organization, there's another line that shows on the information page. So if you selected the services, I think, yep, there it'll tell you there the location of that. So you could click that link and jump right to the templated section library folder, and it would update the tree and show you the other items in there.
All right. So inside of the all, I can see if it's in the if that one is in a folder, it shows you the location over here.
Right.
Beautiful. Okay. That's new. I didn't know that was there.
Other things you can do as far as dragging and dropping, there's a navigation element inside there. You see in the main section, you got the up arrow to go back to libraries. That helps navigate the tree. But you can also those top nav items for dragging. So you could drag 5-pat test back to libraries. That will have the effect of removing it from any of the directories and just you get it in all.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's just demonstrate that real quickly. So I'm going to take and say the hero images, those go into a sectional thing. Services, that goes into sections. Seeing double, that looks like a long one. I'm going to put that into full page templates. I'm going to take full page templates and I'm just going to bring that back to the main root over here. I can actually rearrange the tree over here. If I don't like the way this is arranged, I can put Jon on top and I can put Pat second and rearrange the order of all of this stuff. Oop, I put Jon underneath there. So playing with this, I can rearrange the tree to my liking. So give you lots of flexibility. There's nothing in Pat's blocks. Let's put a couple blocks in there. Hover zoom, Pat's blocks. And actually I can see Pat's test doesn't have a location yet. So we're going to put that under Pat's blocks. And there we go. Pat's blocks got some, Jon's got nothing. So I'm going to delete Jon. I'm going to take Jon out of there. And Pat's blocks, full page templates, sections, templates, etc. So now the organizational structure is complete to my liking. A lot of power in the hands right now. Who can get this? Anybody that can get into the content library has the power to kind of rearrange stuff. But can I, if I created a folder, Jon, was mine, would everybody see it?
Nope, only you. So, I mean, that's the other thing. We kept that owner aspect, the global versus personal aspect. It controls who sees items. Items that are global, folders or block copies, they can be seen by every logged in user. Personal items, whether it's a personal folder or a personal block copy, those only ever show up for the currently logged in user. So I think all the folders, in fact, that you created as personal. So if I were to log in, I wouldn't see your folders.
Okay.
And I wouldn't see the items that you moved into those folders because the folder is personal and it's off limits. I might see the item in all, but I wouldn't see it in the context of your folder. So there's nuance there. Maybe early on, you have to make that choice to, say, hey, this library folder is global. Maybe we learn that they all need to be global all the time or by default. Well, time will tell. I think everything is personal by default. And I think that's the way it used to be also.
Yeah.
So
I want to point out that a lot of I mentioned in the beginning, this was all driven by user feedback. And one of the reasons we got so much user feedback is because users are using this a lot. So literally across our client base, there are probably 5,000 to 10,000 library entries, blocks in the content library. So it's getting used a lot, which is great. It's a very popular feature. I can see where it's immensely useful. Once you create a standard for how you want a page laid out, being able to put it into the library and tell all your less sophisticated users, just use the one that's in the library, don't create a blank one, is going to help with consistency, layout, et cetera. So the fact that this was so widely adopted is what drove a lot of these requests for searching and sorting and organizing and tagging and doing all the other stuff that we have in here. So if you have any feedback once you start using this, again, we'd love to see it. I want to move on real quick and show a couple more things that are new in Titan. In order to do that, let's see, what do we have on this page? I just got one page on here. So I like this freeform page I got over here. I'm not going to click preview because that didn't work. Actually, let's just delete this block. I'm going to go on there. I'm going to hit delete. I'm going to add a block. Let's just put on this 5 Pat test. There we go. I'm going to be brave and I'm going to try preview again. There it is. Okay, so that worked. So we have a preview of the page over here. So I really like this block. And so we've added a new feature that I think is going to be very popular. It's called duplicate this block. And that is right here. So if I have this block selected and I click this button here, duplicate selected blocks, I now have 2 copies of that block, 1, 2. And so this was a frequently requested new feature. And in one instant, you can take any block and create another copy of it and on a page. So I think people are going to find this very, very useful, especially if you're doing like photo blocks and you've got, float 30s and you're kind of laying out grids, et cetera. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, put them on there real quick and adjust the floats, and then it's all going to work really well. So that is a new feature. As we showed before, you have the collapse all blocks, select all blocks, delete blocks that are selected. This is the edit, actually only one at a time. So you can only edit one block at a time with the features, but this is where you put in the different attributes for assigning.
You can actually change attributes across multiple.
Whoa.
For clarification, this was around before. Every block you can work with individually, or if you're using the buttons along the top, you're operating over the all selected, which you can control click, shift click to select range of blocks, right? The working with the settings is going to apply the same whatever's in that screen to all the selected blocks. So great way to do, you got 4 that you want to have float 25 and you want them all in the same stripe. You could click, 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 click. You open the attributes for all, select the stripe class, select float 25, and it'll apply across all the blocks at the same set of styles. So we've had that for a while, but it comes into play, with everything now also. Frankly, the duplicate block now makes that whole process a lot easier too. You create the one, set it to float 25 and dark stripe or whatever, and then you dupe, 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 dupe. Now you got 4 to float 25s, and then you can come back in and make tweaks to each of the 4, to fit whatever you're trying to accomplish. I was just telling Pat before, I'm using this duplicate block all the time now for testing stuff because I needed to, drop something in and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a pain in the butt. Oh, wait, I'll just dupe, 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 dupe. And then for testing purposes, it was great. But it's a great way to speed up your workflows.
Here, I just duplicated the block. I slide the float 50 class to both of them at the same time. I selected both at the same time. I applied that class float 50 to it, and then I did a preview, popped it open, and you can see that these 2 blocks are now floating side by side. If I take that class off, which I can select both of them again, the attributes over here, uncheck that, hit done, and in theory, it got both of them.
Yep. You don't see it anymore.
Now they're stacked top to bottom.
Right. The style that we usually put those classes in like a little info section on each block. But if it's just the class that is for that block, like the freeform class, then we don't show you any extra information. There's not anything extra to show. But as soon as they all have like a float on them or part of a stripe or other classes, tied in, then we show those extra bits of information. Yep. Just like that.
So here I added the class, and now that float 50 is showing up over here. And I can also turn that on and off by toggling this button over here. So that's too much clutter for you. You can turn it off. So sometimes some of these things will have a whole bunch of different attributes assigned to it. So we added the dupe block function across the top. The content library has been changed up. And the last thing we wanted to show you was a new paging feature that was per request of clients. Let's see, no. And we have, I don't know if it's on this page. Where was it? Oh, that's right. I didn't save it at all. All right. We were playing with this before. So I'm going to add a block over here. I'm going to go, actually, I'm just going to pick one of my system blocks. I'm going to put a filter block in. And I would like to take all the images that we have on the site. Previews 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want any additional filters at the moment. I don't need any keyword filtering. Actually, is that a keyword filter? And that's not. I'll just leave that blank for the moment. I want this, no teaser text on these. We don't have teaser images on these. So I'm just keep this real simple for the moment. And I would like to show pagination. Well, the pagination is not option there, John.
Use a 1 column.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Okay. So the style, in order for this new pagination features to show up, are standard 1 column, standard 2 column, standard 2 column by role. Those are the ones default out of the box. Can have us, or you can create your own styles. Takes just a little bit of know-how to be able to create a new style. So I'm going to do a standard 1 column style. Once I do that, then the pagination option is available. And I'm just going to keep it real simple for 5 per page. I'm going to show the new options are previous and next was what we had previously.
Yep.
Now there's a compact page selector. Let's show you that one first. And I'm going to put it on the top and the bottom. It'll be a little cluttered, but you get the idea. And that's what this one looks like. So if I click a preview on this, here we're showing 5 at a time. And I can actually, I have it open over here. I'm going to refresh this. There you go. The preview does not have, I didn't publish it. All right, let's do that. All right, so I'm going to hit publish. All right, now it has been published. Now I'm going to hit refresh on this page. And there we go. And so now I can pick which page you want to go to. I can move forward or backwards through the list. I can also jump to the very end of the list, page 7, or the very beginning of the list. If I come back over here, let's bring this up in the editor. Edit. And filter block. We're going to change the style from to the bottom only. And I'm going to make it numbered page links. Same
Make
thing.
it Ajax also.
Oh, thank you. Let's do that. Yeah. Ajax enabled, and it disables the submit button. There we go. So now every time you click it, it just happens automatically. And I'm going to publish that page. Go back over here to team, refresh. Team.htm, what was it?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, or jump all the way to the go forward, backwards, etc. That's on the bottom only. We can take that page, put it on the top and the bottom, done. Publish, team, refresh. There you go. Now you have it on top and bottom. So if on a long page, if you have a really long page, you might want to put it on top and the bottom. It's kind of traditional. Actually, I don't know if there's a convention. I think it's half a dozen of one, the other. So this will work forward and backwards through whatever you have, filtering these options for whatever you want to filter. And I know people use filter blocks all over their sites with, search bars and other stuff over here, different things. So that's a new option that's available also. Any questions? Anybody got anything so far that they've seen? There's a queue forming outside the front door for upgrades. John, I can see it out my window right now.
Oh boy.
I know.
Some of those guys an umbrella. It's raining.
I know. We'll give them numbers and then get in line. But if you'd like this, if you're part of Total Care, the upgrade is free. It's included in your Total Care service. And so we just contact your account director or your business over here at Northwoods, and we can get you up for an upgrade. If you're not on Total Care, we are happy to get you queued up, do an estimate for what it would take to get there, and maybe give you a quote for Total Care also, and go inside there. So you get the new content library, you get this new pagination type stuff, you get about 100 fixes. Somebody asked us about an upgrade from Titan 6.95, which is about many 6 or 7 major versions behind. And so titancms.com, we have, I believe, release notes over here, version enhancements. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And
so you 5 or 6 years worth of changes.
Yeah. So 695 is over there. So what we built into V7 is in here, drag and drop, breadcrumbs, so you can read all about it over there. Here's what's in version 7.1, here's 7.2, here's 7.3, here's 7.4, and recently 7.5, content library enhancements, duplicating blocks, and then lots of updates, lots of minor updates, etc. We're always keeping up with latest security patches, features, performance improvements. We find miscellaneous bug fixes, and those will all get fixed as we go. So lots and lots of reasons. If you scroll through this page, there's lots and lots that has been going on. I don't have enough time. There's not enough hours in a day for me to scroll through all of the stuff we have done in all the different versions. So if you're on 695, you could get the benefit of all these enhancements as we go forward. Well, if there's no questions, we just would like to say thank you very much. If you do have a question and you're too shy to ask it today, feel free to fire it afterwards.
Or come back for office hours when we have
Come back for office hours. Absolutely. All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming to this 7.5 preview, and let us know anything we can do to help you. Always here to serve. Thank you very much.